The simplest but most effective morning routine coming up right after this. Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Yoel and so grateful to have you. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about something that's pretty close to my heart. Most of the topics that I discuss are pretty close to my heart, and that is the idea of a morning routine, particularly what is a simple but effective morning routine. And the reason why I say it's simple is because I was doing a little bit of research just before I decided to do this video, and I saw all sorts of videos on this topic of morning routines. A lot of them get into all sorts of sciences and the brain chemicals and this and that and bada bing, bada boom. And if you're anything like me or anybody like me, you're not really interested in this sort of science and data and all that sort of thing. Not that it's not important, or not that there aren't a lot of people that are interested in that. And if you are, there are definitely a lot of videos that you can watch on the topic that goes into depth about that. But this video is more of like the average Joes, if you will, that kind of are just looking for some good strategies as to how to get their day in order. Okay, now I want to be clear about this, that, and I say this in all my videos, particularly regarding personal development, I don't claim to be a guru, or I don't even claim to be necessarily always doing everything that I talk about. So I'm not here to preach to anybody or to tell you that I do everything 100% and therefore you should be doing it as well. But definitely I do speak from experience. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about, I will try and point out, things that maybe I feel I can do better, but I know from experience from when I was doing them more consistently or more effectively that they did work for me. So just bear that in mind, okay? I'm not here to preach to you. I'm here to talk with you, to do this together, if you will, although I'm sitting here facing a camera and you're the audience watching or maybe listening to this as you do chores around the house or maybe do some work. But the point is to be, to have a sort of engaging discussion about it. And of course, if you have any feedback, feel free to leave that in the comments section below. And while this channel continues to be in its infancy, I mean, I started it a while ago, but it's been hard to kind of find the time to deal with this, to get away from my day job, if you will. But while the channel's in its infancy, there's more of a chance that I will respond to your feedback directly. I will certainly do my best to do so. Sometimes I don't get those notifications, and it's always appreciated. Of course, if I don't, there may be somebody else who's watching who sees your comment and will have some added insights to add. So feedback is always appreciated. Of course, if you have subscribed, I definitely am grateful to you for doing that. If you have not yet subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss a future video. You're also helping me to continue to do videos just like this. So starting off the morning routine, it actually starts with the night. Okay, so that's kind of funny. We're talking about morning routines and I'm talking about starting off with the night. So what do I mean by starting off with the night? Well, in order to have a good, effective morning, you want to have a good night's sleep. Sounds obvious, but again, it's sort of counterintuitive. It's obvious, but also counterintuitive, because when we think about morning routines, certainly if you're kind of new to this and you haven't really been that disciplined about carving out a morning routine for yourself, you're kind of thinking already from the morning time. But I'm suggesting that you start thinking from the nighttime already, so that you start winding down and getting yourself a good night's sleep. Okay, now in terms of how to get a good night's sleep, that's a subject of a different video. It's a different topic, but I would suggest certain meditative exercises that could help get you into a better night's sleep, as well as certain, if you're into the manifestation topic, which I do want to talk about as well, it's a good idea to start speaking in positive ways, sort of manifesting, talking about things as if you already have, not as if, because you do already have them, as long as you keep saying that to yourself while you're in a drowsy state and getting drowsier and drowsier. That seeps into your subconscious so much more. It also helps you fall asleep better, in my experience anyway. Okay, but that again is a topic for a future video, but certainly getting a good night's sleep is extremely important. Obviously, I understand that there are times where, let's say you have a party you'll go to, or maybe you've got a bunch of kids and or you have a baby at home and the baby was screaming all night. Of course, there are factors that are beyond your control, and that's why I said from the outset that I'm talking about ideals here. I definitely understand that there are exceptions, but bear in mind, we can always make excuses for everything in life. That includes myself, and I'm sure those of you watching this or listening will agree that we can always make excuses. But if we make it a habit to get a good night's sleep, and make it the exception as to when we don't get a good night's sleep, whether it's a party or again, if you have a baby, that could be a period of time. So you won't be getting a good night's sleep for many nights in a row. And I do understand that, which maybe means that it may not be the best time to try and do too much at once, to try and do too much of the best morning routine, maybe kind of chip away at maybe one aspect of this video that I'm talking about when it comes to morning routines. If, getting a good night's sleep is impossible, such as cases of having a baby at home. But the point is to get yourself into those good routines such that you're getting a good night's sleep becomes the norm rather than the exception, as opposed to vice versa. So try and get a good night's sleep. Obviously, 8 hours is recommended. It depends on your body type. Again, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into the science or the data either. There are plenty of people on YouTube to do that. But certainly, you know yourself, you know your body. Get yourself a good night's sleep so that you're in a better position to have that better morning routine. Okay, so that's good. That's the sleep. Now, getting up in the morning, because you're getting a good night's sleep, then hopefully you can get up earlier in the morning. I do find I'm more of a morning person. I do understand that some people are more night owls than morning persons, but if you're watching this video, then once again, I'm taking the assumption that you do want to carve out better habits for yourself in the morning. And the best way to do that, I find, is by maximizing the amount of time you have in the morning. Okay, so whereas if you're the type that's been kind of getting up at, I don't know, 8:30, rushing out the door to get to work or whatever your schedule may be, that's obviously not putting yourself in the best position to have a good morning routine versus getting up at 6 a.m., for example, and having more time to do the things that I'm going to talk about in this video. So going to sleep early and getting up early is an excellent way to get yourself a good morning routine. There was one point where I was getting up, I don't remember, maybe it was like 4:30 in the morning. It was wild. I was getting up super early and I was loving it. But of course, sometimes when you try and do too much, it's not sustainable. So I don't suggest trying to overdo things. I've gotten into a good routine now where I get up relatively early, usually around 6:30, something like that. I'm getting older. I'm 45 as of the date of the recording of this video. So I definitely don't sleep as well as I used to just by biology. A lot of things are hereditary. I know that my dad also doesn't necessarily sleep through the night. I hope he's okay with me sharing this with the world. So, that these things are hereditary, but I put myself in the best position possible to get the best night's sleep I can by getting to sleep as early as I can. But the fact is that I don't sleep as much, although I don't need as much sleep either. But still, I do try and get up at an early hour regardless so that I can have more time for the morning routine. So I get up, and here's another suggestion, which I know is advisable, and I don't always stick to it, although again, I should, it's of course recommended to drink a lot of water. And when I joined the gym, and that's part of my morning routine, which I'll get to in a moment, when I joined the gym, my trainer had suggested to me to ensure to drink a lot of water in the morning before I do anything. Obviously, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and all that. I'm skipping over the personal hygiene part. That goes without saying. I guess I said it, so it doesn't go without saying. But, when I talk about morning routine, I'm not talking about personal hygiene. But, after that, it is a good idea to drink a lot of water. So maybe 2 tall glasses of water just to get that water circulating into your body. And again, guilty as charged. I don't always do that. Maybe now that I'm doing this video, I will be more mindful of that. So another reason why I'm glad I'm doing this video. It's also to help myself, not just to help those who are watching this video. Okay, so drink a lot of water and then say what you want about coffee. If you're a coffee drinker like me, I drink coffee. I will prepare myself. I actually like Turkish coffee. And actually, Turkish coffee is important because, again, this is a topic for another video, especially if you're doing intermittent fasting or at least trying to rest your stomach, if you will, between meals, then it's okay, quote unquote, according to the intermittent fasting gurus. If you're not sure what that means, intermittent fasting is the idea where you rest your stomach for periods of time. Some say a minimum of 16 hours, some say 20 hours. As it happens, I don't do too long of an intermittent fast. Because I also do bodybuilding, but so I try and rest my stomach for 12 hours between meals. I do the best I can. So, for example, if I finish my meal at 7 o'clock and then I go to sleep at 9 o'clock, then I won't eat breakfast until minimum 7 a.m. the next morning. Again, I'm not always perfect in this. A lot of times I will eat my meals pretty late at night, which isn't a great idea to eat right before you go to sleep, but I will do that. So if I'm eating later, let's say I'm eating till 10 at night and I go to sleep at 10:30, or 11 or whatever the case is, then I'll wait until 10:30 before I eat any food. But the benefit of at least Turkish coffee is that, at least the way I drink it, I don't put any milk or sugar in it, and therefore that's still considered fasting. It's still considered resting my body. Okay, but so if you're a coffee drinker with milk, just bear in mind if you're going to have that coffee with milk, first of all, milk is a bit fatiguing, so it kind of can really interrupt your morning routine if it's going to make you a little drowsy, unless you're doing it for the purposes of a good sort of semi-conscious meditation, which could be a good thing. But for intermittent fasting purposes and having a really good rested stomach between meals, something like Turkish coffee or tea without any added sugar or lemon or anything like that. Again, this isn't a video about intermittent fasting, but sort of keeping things to the minimum, whether it's just minimum black, dark coffee or tea, then that's a good way of keeping your stomach rested, also not overdoing things, not getting yourself drowsy, while at the same time getting that bit of jolt of caffeine that you can get in the morning. And again, I'm not talking about from a health perspective. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health expert. I know there are many that rally against caffeine, but for me personally, I really enjoy a nice, hot, piping cup of Turkish coffee in the morning, and I include that with my morning routine. Especially if you're a coffee drinker, then you'll appreciate that cup of coffee as well. Then I go and sit down. It's actually a bit out of the picture here from this video. I sit down in the same chair. I've got a nice armchair that's super comfortable where I sit down in and enjoy that coffee. And I say that because it's good to have the same place to have your morning routine, or to do part of what I'm going to talk about for your morning routine in the same place every day. That gives you that continuity, that consistency that's very helpful for staying on track. So I sit at the same place in the corner of my living room in the same chair with my coffee. And what I do is I start to journal. Okay. Oh, I should mention, by the way, do not look at your phone. Okay, again, guilty as charged. Oftentimes I will not listen to my own advice over here, but the best is if you can go into your morning routine clean and free from all the craziness of the world. Again, I understand that you may have obligations, such as there may be children that don't live at home with you, and you want to make sure that they're okay, and maybe they check in with you at certain times of the day if they're on different time zones. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, but in general, if you can, have your morning routine without looking at your cell phone, that will make your morning routine that much more focused and helpful to you. So really try and avoid looking at your cell phone. Back to what I was saying. So I sit in my armchair with my coffee and I start journaling. And there's no rules to journaling. That's the beauty about this. I just kind of vomit out all the stuff that's like swirling around in my mind. Okay. I also try, by the way, I try to record my dreams as well, especially because I don't always remember them. And when I do remember them, I definitely want to record them. Not necessarily because I'll look back at them one day. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I mean, my handwriting is pretty bad. So there's a good chance even if I did look back at it, I wouldn't really know what I was writing. But I do find that it's helpful for the subconscious to be able to sort of put onto paper things that were going on in my sleeping, whatever that term is, while I was sleeping. So I like to record my dreams. You don't have to do that, but I do find it interesting to do that. And for those who are, more organized and do write good notes, you may find it interesting to go back and see how your dream patterns have been following one another. There's a lot of studies, again, studies and data, etc., which isn't the point of this video, that talk about dreams and analyzing dreams. And that can be helpful towards that. So I start by recording my dreams, assuming I remember them or whatever details I can remember. And then I get into just any sort of random thought that comes into my mind. It just goes. I just put it on paper in no particular order, just as it comes into my mind. Again, I don't worry about my penmanship. I don't care about how neat my handwriting is. I'm not trying to do this so that one day I'll write a book on all the thoughts that came out in my mind every morning during my morning routine. It's more just to sort of get out onto paper thoughts that are swirling around. And I find for myself that helps provide a sort of space and clarity of mind throughout the day. I definitely see a difference from when I journal versus when I don't journal. So I definitely recommend journaling, and that way you have a good sort of start to your morning where you're sort of getting out those thoughts that are swirling around your head. So after journaling, what I do is I actually have some books, religious texts. Sometimes I'll do this before I'm journaling. Actually, it really depends on the morning. Okay, so you don't have to be that regimented to the point where it has to be exactly the same. So sometimes I'll read these religious texts before, so for example, reading from the Bible. Again, if you're not religious, that's totally cool. Each person to their own. But for me, I am, so I like to read from the Bible, and I'll usually do that actually before I journal different parts of the Bible. I'm not going to get into what I'm reading, but I will read from different texts that I enjoy, and that's part of my morning routine as well. I also enjoy that because again, it gives me a consistent Bible reading every morning, so I incorporated that into my morning routine. But it doesn't matter if you're doing that before you're journaling or after. So I will do that. So let's say I will read those texts. So if you're into Bible, you do a little bit of Bible study, then you do your journaling. And sometimes, depending on how much time I have or how I'm feeling, I'll also read a book that I'm reading. It could even be a regular novel, but more likely it will be a book that really speaks to me, a personal development book, a spiritual book. I've done a lot of videos. I still want to and intend on continuing the series on David Hawkins' Letting Go. I've talked about various books about Michael Singer, The Surrender Experiment, Living Untethered. So all sorts of spiritual books that I like to read from. Personally, when I read a book, especially if it's an important personal development or spiritual book, I will underline various points, and I find that that helps me to remember, the important, what I view as the most important, or the points in the book that really speak to me, so that I'm really taking note of everything and reading with intent. Okay, again, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything, but so for me, just sharing from my morning routine, getting up in the morning, having that coffee, sitting down in the same place, journaling and reading from spiritual books, personal development books is how I start off my morning routine. And then I move in. And by the way, you'll notice I'm not giving you any sort of timing here because I don't want to make it too regimented. There's no rules. Let's say you have a half hour to do your morning routine. You're new to this, even 20 minutes. So you can journal for 5 minutes. You can, read from spiritual books if you want for 5 minutes. And then you can do the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is meditating. Okay, I'm a real big believer in meditating. A lot of people get scared at the idea of it, although less and less these days with so many videos and education and information out there about meditating. It's not like it once was. Once it was a taboo subject, and as time went on, it wasn't necessarily taboo. Nobody knew anything about it. People just assumed that's for like Buddhist monks sitting out in some monastery in Tibet. But nowadays, obviously, it's become very popular. A lot of people are meditating. There's all sorts of different ways of meditating. There's mindfulness meditation. There's transcendental meditation, TM. I think I pronounced that right. All sorts of different types of visualization meditation, mantra meditation, all sorts of different types of meditation. That'll be the topic of another video as well, if I haven't already done one. And but the point is that I do believe in meditating. Again, kind of related to the reason I talked about with journaling, because meditating, what it does is it allows you to observe your thoughts and kind of get behind them, if you will, so that you become witness conscious. You become the observer of your thoughts as opposed to getting caught up in them. And I'm not going to get into the weeds now of what the purpose of meditation is or what it does for you. Hopefully you do know a little bit about meditation if you're watching this already, but if not, stay tuned for the next video. If I remember when I do the video on meditation, I will link this video, the meditation video, to this video later on. Again, I apologize if I forget, but hopefully I'll remember. But if not, know to go to my video library and to watch the video on meditation. It may not be up yet when you're watching this video, but hopefully in the near future, maybe that'll be the next video I do. In any case, I will meditate. And again, the time doesn't matter. You can always start with a less amount of time and then work your way up. It's actually recommended, by the way, I kind of touched upon this before when I was talking about going to sleep. It's recommended by a lot of the gurus who have tried and tested, and definitely speak from experience. And I speak from experience as well, to meditate also in the evening. It could also help you fall asleep better, and meditate in the morning. So meditating is certainly a part of my morning routine. I will add, by the way, I don't do this, but I definitely know I have a good friend in particular who I can think of, definitely does some, body shaking out the body types of exercises. If you're more the type who's in touch with your body and you're into that sort of thing, it could either be some yoga practices or whatnot. I don't really do, not really, I don't do that, but a lot of people will do things that will sort of connect them to their body, if you will. Okay, but for me, it's meditating. It's more for me. I'm more in my mind. My one of my issues is overthinking things. So meditating helps me kind of get behind those thoughts and be witness conscious to those thoughts. After I finish meditating, then I guess the final part of my morning routine is to go to the gym and work out. Okay, and I will have a video on my workout routine, so I'm not going to get into what my workout routine is, but essentially it consists of, a mix between cardio and different types of weightlifting depending on the day. I'll get into that in a future video as well, but certainly working out is extremely important. Again, as I talked about, so I guess I am in touch with my body. I just don't do these shaking out exercises. I go and work out. That's how I'm in touch with my body. And certainly advisable. Of course, it's great for staying in shape, like I was talking about before with intermittent fasting, which is great for staying in shape and very healthy, at least from my opinion. I know not everybody's into the intermittent fasting, but anecdotally and from personal experience, I found it to be helpful. Again, I'm not fully intermittent fasting now just because of my weightlifting training program, but at the end of the day, going to the gym is certainly, I think everybody would agree, very important to do. When I got started, by the way, when I got started, I started with home exercises. I started doing walks around the block to exercise. So if getting to the gym may be tough, or maybe you don't have the funds for it at the moment, whatever the case may be in your circumstances, definitely try and get some exercise, even by going for a walk around the block, or if you have a treadmill or some sort of exercise equipment at home, or even home workouts by looking at YouTube videos. Okay, you can find home workouts on YouTube videos. So after you watch this video, you can go and search YouTube for all sorts of home workouts. But the point is to get the body moving. Okay, and then of course there is breakfast. Again, the point of this video is not to get into what I eat for breakfast, but generally I try and have a balanced diet. Generally what I have is a lot of egg whites and oatmeal for my breakfast. The egg whites provide a source of protein. Of course, if you're vegan, then you can find whatever substitute will give you that source of protein, and oatmeal has a lot of fiber in it, which is obviously extremely healthy. I don't add sugar or anything like that, but I don't want to get into the weeds regarding my diet plan as well. A lot of video ideas are coming to me as I share this because I realize there's a lot of overlap with things. But the point here is to talk about my morning routine. So that's it. Like I said, simple and effective. I've been doing this for many years. And just to recap, once again, the morning routine starts with the night, getting a good night's sleep, getting up early as you can, having that morning coffee or tea without sugar, without milk, if possible. That's the best, so that your stomach continues to rest before you eat breakfast. Going to sit in your regular spot in the same chair, preferably in the same part of the room, okay, with your coffee or tea, and then reading if you're into the religious books, you can read a religious book or a spiritual personal development book. Journaling your thoughts, that can start with writing and recording your dreams, followed by meditating, followed by going to the gym, and then having a nice balanced breakfast to round out your morning, and you're ready to conquer the day, so to speak. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. Once again, if you have any comments or feedback, if you feel like I left out something major, I wonder if I'll remember something major that I left out. I didn't take any notes for this video, maybe it shows, but if you have any comments or feedback, I'm always appreciative to see that in the comment section below. Again, thank you for subscribing. If you have subscribed, if you haven't, literally takes you a second. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a future video. If you have any video ideas for me you'd like me to talk about, feel free to leave that in the feedback or the comment section below as well. And don't forget the notification bell. I think I said that already, but I'll say it again. How many times do people say that on YouTube videos? I know it's a bit annoying for people, but have to remind people you guys are watching tons of content, so that's the only way to keep that in your consciousness. And I am grateful for that, so that I can continue doing videos and growing this channel. Thanks again for visiting as always. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Hey, thanks for watching. I know your time is valuable, and that's one of the many reasons I'm grateful that you watched my video. Check out the next video in this series or in my library. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and the notification bell so that you don't miss a future video. And it will also help me to continue producing videos just like this one. I appreciate it.